Welcome, my friends, to Inside the Minds of Authors. I'm DC Gomez, and I'm thrilled you're joining me today for a fun conversation with a passionate author. We're kicking off the program, like it's our tradition, with a short reading from the feature book. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get started.
My name is Diane Bator. I'm a Canadian mystery author. I am currently hiding in a corner because I am moving across Canada very shortly. So everything in my house is packed except this, my new book, That Shimmers. And I'll be reading a little bit from the book today and hopefully you really enjoy it because it's one of my favorites and a very fun one. So I'm just going to start a little bit into chapter 1. Just to give you a little bit of my characters, Lakin and her boyfriend, Cameron, and her dog, Sammy. Sammy and I left Vintage Sage around 7 to meet Cameron Dale near Devil's Peak for our regular morning walk down to the marina and back. A 20-minute walk, which usually took us 45 minutes, since we had to stop to throw sticks for Sammy the whole way. The early morning air was still cool, and I was grateful for the warmth of the beige, oversized Vince cardigan my sister had discovered at an estate sale. Sure, it was boxy and like nothing I would have worn a few years ago as a runway model, but what it lacked in looks it made up for in being the coziest piece of clothing I owned. My dog didn't care what the temperature was. The second we reached the damp sand, I let him run loose. He headed straight for the water and nudged a crab that skirted around the edge of the low rolling waves. Cameron was nowhere in sight, late for the third time this week. I snorted and counted to 10. My lack of sleep from the odd noises in my apartment was making me short-tempered. I had hoped things would go smoothly this morning to alleviate that. From the start, I knew that dating a veterinarian would have its challenges, especially in the weeks he was on call. It wasn't exactly a 9-to-5 job like my sister's vintage boutique. While I admired Cameron's dedication, I was starting to dislike animals. Well, his patience anyway. Oddly enough, he wasn't on call until this weekend. He must have slept in. I wished I could have slept longer. Maybe our local gossip columnist Enid Walsh was right. I needed to hire an exorcist or get rid of the ghost or whatever it was so I could get some much needed rest. Or face my fears and figure out how to chase out whatever was living with me. If I talked nicely enough, I might even be able to convince Cameron to help, or even to do it for me. After all, there might be a wounded animal up there he could mend. Hey, Lakin, sorry I'm late, Cameron called out as he ran across the sand. I flashed a quick smile. No problem, we just got here. This is the best way to start the day. He brushed the dark curls off his forehead before he took my hand. In fact, I'm thinking of upping my game. What do you mean? I asked as we strolled across the sand. My gaze followed my half-grown sheepdog pup as he nosed at a crab, then bounced away into the soft sand before returning to poke it again. When Cameron released my hand and dropped to one knee on the wet sand, I gasped. I should have known something was up when he wore pressed khaki shorts instead of his usual beach wear. What are you doing? I gasped. No, get up. I grabbed his arm and tried to force him up. Why now? He stared. Why hadn't he done this last night over dinner? Anywhere more private than the beach at sunrise. Get up before anyone sees. Lakin, what's wrong with you? I don't want to get married again so soon, especially after the first time was a flat-out disaster. My heart raced and I grew more lightheaded by the second. Married? That's why you're on one knee, isn't it? No, Just a sec. Cameron frowned and tied his shoelace. Was that just a decoy after I'd admonished him? Or is that why he'd crouched in the sand to begin with and I'd read the whole situation wrong?
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Inside the Minds of Authors. Hope you guys are doing amazing today, and you guys are just as excited for this reading as I am. If you're new to the podcast, go ahead, subscribe. Make sure you join us. We're always better when we're growing together. And if you're interested in seeing the
unedited version recordings of the podcast, make sure to become a podcast junkie. All you're going to do is click on the link and join a Portrait community. So now we're going to get started because you all know we're here for this incredible author. So hello, Miss Diane. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, thrilled. Thank you for joining us. Congratulations on the new book.
Thank you.
I got questions. I'm interested. Let's start with first question.
I have answers.
You will. I am confident you will. What is this book about and where did the idea come from?
This book in particular is book 3 in the Glitter Bay Mystery series. And the series features Laken Miller and her sister Sage. Laken is a former fashion model who ended up getting very ill and had to leave her old life behind. And Sage is her sister, who is kind of a boho kind of girl who lives in a small beach community that her sister kind of crashes into. And the two worlds have been colliding quite a bit in the series so far, and even more in this newest book.
So you said book 3 in the mystery series. I need to know, what made you decide to write a mystery series?
I think part of it is I get involved in book 1 and then I just have to know what happens to them from there. Or things will come up at the end of the book and I'm like, ooh, this will make a good book too. So I just always kind of leave that opening so I can go back and add another book to a series, because this is actually my 4th series. So I've got a few out there and I just find it a lot of fun to continue on with the lives of these characters.
And all your series in the same genres, or do you switch genres? How does that work?
All of the series I have so far, they're all kind of more of a cozy mystery. So there's not blood, guts, gore. You don't actually see slash or anything. They're light. They're in small communities. Think like Murder, She Wrote, Monk, that sort of thing. I just find them a lot of fun just to have normal people, not necessarily law professionals or police or anything like that. It's just normal people that bumble along and get into all these strange situations.
How do you decide to have a fashion model lose career and start over? Where did that idea come from?
You know what? I really don't remember. Sometimes it's just one of those things. These characters will kind of walk into your head one day and you're like, oh, that sounds fun. And part of it too is I love going to all of these little antique shops and secondhand shops. And I thought it might be fun to have a character who owned one and to have her sister, the high fashion model who has worked with designers and all of this stuff, have her sister come in and go, oh, okay, we got to up this game a little bit. And that's what's been happening since book 1 is they have been upping her sister's game with the shop and with the products they bring in and their help that they bring in. They have ended up with a coworker completely by fluke, shall we say, who has stayed with them. And she is also a fashion designer who is starting her own little end of the business as well.
I like the people. I like the combination that they come together, which is really, really fun, which is very, very cozy in nature. What is the mystery can you tell us that they're working on this book specifically?
In this book specifically, Laken, we didn't get to the part with the reading and stuff, but Laken's ex-husband winds up dead on her property. And she had no idea he was even in town. So he is a former B-list actor from Hollywood and had disappeared. And she's been getting all these texts and messages. And she's like, I don't keep track of them. I don't care, until she finds his body. And then she has to care and she has to solve it because she looks really guilty.
I feel bad for her right now. I'm like, ooh, girl, yeah, that's bad in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Your character creations, how do you keep them straight from one series to the other and from one book to the other? How do you do that?
I really don't know. Somehow I have a little filing cabinet in my head. But I also I used to have an agent years ago, and she gave me this great little document that kept track of characters, what they did with the story, what their occupations were, just very not super detailed. So you can build them, you can grow on them, that sort of thing. But it just helped to keep track of all of the different characters, because book to book, there will be new characters coming, new characters going.
So a question from a writer to a writer. Do you work on multiple books at the same time, or do you have to finish one before you can jump to the next one?
They talk about writer's block and that sort of thing. And sometimes you kind of get to a little bit of a stall in one book and it's like, well, I just need to work on something else for a little while and then something will come back with the other one. Right now, I am tentatively working on 3 books, little bits here and there. They're not in like full production process right now, meaning I'm not just totally absorbed in one to get it finished for a deadline. Right now, my next deadline, I think, is next June or something. So I have a little bit of time. And then I have one due next September. So it's just little bits. And then as it builds and as I have to sit down and really organize, then I will focus on just one book and get it finished.
I like that technique. I like the fact that you're able to bounce back and forth and you still do focus on one. So that is super, super fun. What is it about the genre that you enjoy the most?
It's so funny. I grew up always doing puzzles and solving mysteries and reading mysteries and all of that. And I never thought of writing them, which is totally blew my mind when I realized it. And then I actually ended up entering a contest and it was writing a mystery novella using a murder mystery party game. And I thought, okay, that's kind of fun. And then I won the contest and I went, I think I found my genre. So I've been writing mystery ever since. And it's, what are we at? About 10 years now that I've got 15 books out. All That Shimmers is book 15. And I'm also working with a friend on a fantasy novel that hopefully will come out next year. We'll wait and see. But that one will be self-published. So these ones are through my publisher now.
Awesome, and congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful thing when it clicks and you realize, oh, I really love this.
Yeah, I can do this.
That's even better. You've been writing for 10 years. What is something that you learned that you weren't prepared for?
There are so many things. I really seriously started writing in 2007 and joined a local writing group because I'd moved from one side of the country to the other. And now I'm moving back. But it was just really neat to get other people's perspectives and to find out that you have to really be careful who you get to read your stuff when you're just starting out, especially because sometimes people will say things more out of jealousy than out of trying to help you. Another thing is editing, like learn how to edit your own stuff, but make sure you have somebody really good at editing in your back pocket because it will just take you so much farther, so much faster.
Those are great tips and also great learning advice for anybody who's in this business, because sometimes I think your first one is something most people don't think about is we want other people to give us that validation.
Yeah.
And we're always looking for it. And then when you get somebody who you think you trust and they tear you down, you're like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah, that hurts, right? It's like, oh, but I find especially when you're doing any book, even your first or your 20th, whatever, get about 3 or 4 or 5 different opinions, because if they all are saying the same thing, there's a problem. If you have one person saying something really nasty, but the other 4 are like, no, I like that part, then you can probably just kind of ignore the first person's comments. So you really have to pick and choose what you take at the end of the day and who you believe, because you will find some readers are much better at giving you that feedback than others.
So I love that. Advices to new authors, specifically ones who are going, how do I do this? What would you tell them?
You find something you really want to read and write it. I know so many authors who they start to write things, but they don't finish. Don't edit yourself as you go. Just sit down, write the book. Editing is round 2. Don't edit as you write because you'll just drive yourself crazy.
That to me was probably the key that changed my career, was the fact that I didn't have to be editing as I went. I didn't even look at like misspells. I was like, there's a grammar misspells. I can come back. But I was so obsessed with every paragraph that I never got to anything. Like I have all these pages just sitting everywhere going, what happened? I was like, I was busy critiquing myself and not writing.
Exactly. And so many people focus on that first opening sentence, that first opening paragraph. It doesn't matter because you're going to change it by the time you get to the end of the book anyway. So just write what you write, let it all flow. That's when you go back for round two, you edit. That's when you start building that really strong first paragraph, because you will not start off with the same paragraph you wrote in the first edit, right? It changes as you go through the book, and especially when you're doing mystery, because you have to go back sometimes and go, oh, somewhere along the line, my killer changed. So now I have to go back and put in a few red herrings or put in a few clues, because it has changed from page 1 to page 250.
That's usually really hard for people to realize. I'm like, it's going to change. And it's going to be okay when it changes. Just have some fun with it.
Exactly. Even if you map it all out, sometimes somewhere along the way, you have a character going, no, I wouldn't do that. And people think you're crazy when they say that, but they do. They nudge at you and go, no, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't do that. That guy would. Just put him in the hot seat.
It's the strangest part, because then we tried to fight it. I'm like, well, I didn't write that. I was like, well, I don't think they care. So let it go.
Yeah, just write it. It'll turn out.
Do you read the same genres that you write?
I read a lot of different things. I don't just limit myself, because I find I get a lot of great ideas and a lot of great concepts from other genres. Like, you look at my bookshelf, I've got thrillers, I've got mysteries, I've got nonfiction, everything. There are so many different kinds of books that I read, and I pick up on neat styles, neat ways to word things, neat ways to, how did this guy do that? That's really cool, right? So you learn so much from everything you read.
Ooh, I like that. So there is a combination of like taking everything in and then translate it into something else. I love it.
Yeah.
You mentioned you got 3 different things you're working on. Can you tell us what is the next project for you?
Well, right now I am working my friend's fantasy book, because if I don't, I'm going to get strangled soon. It's been very, very busy here, but we've been working on it for probably about 4 years now. And he doesn't call himself a writer. What he does is he writes me Cole's Notes version. I get a chapter and I sit down, put it into my computer and flesh it all out. So between us, he's building the world and the characters, and I'm going in and putting in some of the details and stuff. So it's been a lot of fun, and something I never would have normally written. I would read fantasy, but I've never thought about really writing it. So this is kind of taking me out of my own comfort zone.
That's really fun. It's also stretching you out. How is it working with a partner?
It's a lot of fun. and I think because bounce ideas off each other and stuff, and sometimes he'll be stuck for an idea for the chapters, and I'll just kind of throw something out there. Or like the other day, I had all these edits I gave him, and he goes, oh, well, this is wrong and this is wrong. I'm like, okay, good, then fix it on paper so I can fix it. It kind of works out, and we're both the same kind of temperament, so we're both like, yeah, okay, let's just get this done. This is, as he calls it, this is his legacy project. This is what he wants to leave to the world. And he's very excited about it, and has a lot of people going, when is that book going to get done? So no pressure.
Especially if you're working on it for 4 years, people are now going, okay, now when are you going to get it done? So
Right.
That is pretty cool.
Well, and part of it too was with COVID and everything, we couldn't get together to work on it and all that. We kind of put it aside for a little bit here and there. So there's been a few months at a time where one of us is just too busy, or things have been going on in life that you just can't focus on it. But we're back at it. And even though I'm moving, I've got all the notes, I've got everything, and we'll be doing this long distance, which will be kind of interesting, but it'll be great.
You both be doing a lot of Zoom calls. It works really well.
Yeah, we do FaceTime and stuff. He's not a Zoom call person, but we'll FaceTime, we'll talk on the phone a lot. So
that works.
Yeah.
So tell me, my dear, where can our listeners find you, where they can learn more about the book, where they can get more information? Tell us.
Absolutely. I'm all over social media, but the best place to find me would be my website. It's Diane Bator, DianeBator.ca. I'm in Canada. Everything is there. There's links to absolutely everything, everywhere. So you can find me wherever. And all of my books are sold wherever you can buy books online.
Awesome, awesome. Listeners, you got to go pick it up, check out this mystery or any of her mysteries. So you have tons and tons of options. So yes. So madam, before you leave us, are you ready for the lightning round?
Okay.
Easy peasy. Don't think too much about this. Let's go. Hot drinks or cold?
Cold.
Nice. Fruit or veggies?
Fruit.
City or country?
Country.
Okay. T-shirts or sweaters?
Yeah, today t-shirts.
I love it. Here's a little different. Let's see what you think. If you could be any Disney villain, who will you be?
Oh, that's a good one. Oh my goodness. I have to stop and think Disney villains. It's been a while. Oh my gosh, what was the one from The Little Mermaid? Ursula. I could live underwater. That'd be fun.
You know, the new one's coming out, so it's perfect timing.
I think that's why that came to mind. I just saw the trailer for it yesterday.
Awesome. Madame, do you have any closing remarks for us?
Just any writers out there, keep writing. And I love to share other people's books on my blog. So if you've got a book you'd like to share, reach out to me and we'll put it up there.
Oh, that is so good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was so much fun. Thank you so much. And I want to check out your book there, Death's Intern. That looks amazing.
You like some fantasy with some action and quirky characters? Come and see me. I'm your girl.
Absolutely. I will check it out.
To our listeners, go ahead, follow the amazing Miss Diane, check out her books, check out the website, pick up an amazing new story and a new series. Remember, we'll be back next week with another amazing author. Make sure to follow, check out the podcast, share with some friends. We're better when we're doing always together. And I will see you guys again next week. Bye.